Good morning. Sitting down here, getting ready for the day. Hope you guys caught some of our analysis from yesterday because it actually was, um, I think, I think pretty solid. We had a bunch of levels marked out from the pre-market analysis. Specifically, we talked a lot about this 42.15. We could see that was actually the high of the day yesterday. We caught that to the tick. So really hope you guys are paying attention to that stuff. Also talked a lot about um, this area down here that we thought the market would want to retest. Actually, no, that was during my live trading yesterday. Sorry, that wasn't part of pre-market analysis, but we did talk about during live trading when anybody that had joined us in our chat room, this kind of spiked down and returned back up. There was this area here that needed to be retested, and the sort of key level I identified was about 42.02, and we could see price sort of blasted down through that. But it ended up then acting as support. And then when we came, or I'm sorry, as resistance, and then when we popped back up through, it was a very clear support level. Same thing with this level here, this 42.05 level that we had outlined. That one we did have outlined from the pre-market. And again, same kind of thing. It wasn't exactly like, it wasn't like this, like to the tick, but it did provide an area for us where there was definitely some reaction in this zone. And then you can see again, as the market kind of bounced back, we stalled at that level up here. That was our high. And then it kind of started to consolidate around it before pushing further. So some of these levels that I put out, you use them with other technical analysis, and um, they can really spoon feed you some nice trades. This one particularly was great. I caught in my trading personally, I caught most of this down move, and that worked out really well for me because I was expecting that reversal there. So all we had to do was look for other confluence, and it worked out well. So let's talk about today. Let's see where we're at. I got a lot of drawings on here that we may want to start getting rid of some of these things. So you know what I'm going to do actually, because I think there's too much on this chart. I'm just going to remove everything, and we're going to start fresh today. Sometimes I have to do that. It's just too tedious to get rid of little drawings that get on my charts throughout intraday trading. So we're just going to remap some of this stuff. We're not going to talk about it all because some of these levels are kind of old, and you can certainly go watch our other analysis from other days this week and last week, and it'll give you a better idea of why we're looking at these specific levels. And I just want to get some of these key ones back in. It was easier for me to just kind of remove everything than it was to uh, kind of just remove drawings one at a time. Sorry, I'm trying to talk and draw at the same time. I'm not a very good multitasker. So we'll get this done pretty quickly. We have this bigger 8-hour channel, this smaller one, which is really kind of like a 4-hour channel, sort of from this low, really here, take that, up to these highs. We can kind of say, you might say a little bit that we popped out here, but I'm kind of looking at this from a bigger picture standpoint, and yeah, we'll keep that there. So we kind of popped out and sort of hovered around above this, and now we're kind of breaking down back into this. We sort of had the top of two channels in a row, and I think that's where um, that can cause some difficulty. See, we're just consolidating between those two things. But if we drop back into this teal channel, I think we might want to be aware of potential retest of some of these lower levels. I'm not convinced that's going to happen like all the way down to here, but we might want to look at what in here might need to get tested, and we'll look at that on lower time frames. So we'll just kind of continue to zero in here on the 1 hour. You can see we've had this sort of consolidation up here, this rotation period for the past week really, and we just really haven't been able to. We kind of tested this high here and just weren't able to really make it happen. What I am curious to see in here is if we just kind of grab some of this stuff and see kind of what's going on in here. Yeah, you can see as we probed up here, it was like almost no volume. A little bit of volume picked up here, and that was more likely selling volume, sellers stepping in. But in all reality, we were kind of just coiling in this sort of zone here. So this might be something we want to be aware of, or just some of these kind of bigger levels in here. Oops, gotta change that back. And yeah, just might want to be aware of some of these levels in here. And we're breaking down now. We had actually some good economic news with jobs numbers this morning, but last night, of course, the Fed was also talking about cutting back on its corporate bond program. So that might be part of what's pushing the market down. Regardless, we didn't really need the news because we saw, in our analysis, we saw how much the market was struggling up here and tried to make this high and really just failed. And that should be your warning right away. So I think I mentioned yesterday I had some sort of swing positions on the double beta ETFs, QLD and SSO. My QLD stopped out on, I think, Tuesday. And SSO, depending on this move, the stop might get taken out today. And what I probably then look to do is rebuy somewhere down here. So that's kind of what we got there. Now, the other thing that we might want to be aware of is just anything sort of bigger from this impulse. And maybe I'll just take it up to here so we don't get, yeah. So this could be an area that we might want to be aware of if we're going to come down. If we're going to test some more stuff, we might want to be aware that we're going to get a reaction here about 41.57. And we can draw another sort of demand area. Excuse me, I have to sneeze. I'm going to mute my microphone. Okay, the sneeze went away. So we might want to just kind of draw this out a little bit more clearly. What I'm going to do is see if I can capture some of this stuff to try and just grab this rotation and see if I can't get a more clear picture of our relevant zones. Yeah, that's better. So we'll call it something like this. I think we got basically right up to this high, and then really to here, but we'll take it to the low. Really, this is like the major. We'd probably put the stop under the low, but this would be the major zone that we would sort of look for reversal on. So that's something to be really aware of. And you can see we're coming right into that now. And so, of course, this might happen and come down and reverse a little bit, and then the news comes out about the economic news. You also, just bear in mind too, this is the top of this sort of value area too that we're kind of touching, and that can act as support as well of this rotation. So those are just some things you might want to be aware of, because that's a relatively significant move. There's also this stuff. Let's see here. There's also this stuff, from here that you know what? There's also this sort of rotation down here where I think if we are going to fall further, that would be a decent spot to, again, look for some form of potential reversal towards the bottom of this channel, hopefully above this high so we can continue our uptrend that we're in. Now, again, if we're looking at the really big picture, our long-term trends, as long as really we're above this low here, which is way down at 38.42, I would still consider us to be in a long-term uptrend. And so it would be nice if we hold these lows, but just because we break them doesn't mean I'm going to start going heavily short or anything, unless it's just a short-term kind of hedge. And I might do some shorter-term hedges even today. I was thinking about even last night opening up some short positions either on futures, or you could buy some puts, or you could do something like SQQQ and take or like XPX. What is it? XPXU? Which one's the short one? I forgot. One of the double beta or triple beta inverse ETFs for the S&P. Could do something like that just to have a little hedge position on in case we do get some falling through this zone, and then you can think of taking profits somewhere down here, or at least scaling out of profits somewhere down here if you want to hedge your account a little bit. This is a really broad volume profile. And so, it's going to be maybe a little bit trickier to map out exactly where we might stop. It kind of depends what candles we're grabbing. So here we have a profile there, but if I only take like these candles, this level becomes more relevant. I think that one's actually probably a better level, to be honest. The entire zone that we'd really have to have our eye on would be this. And that's a really broad demand zone. So we'd either want to be going to a smaller time frame and looking for price action reversals on a smaller time frame, or we'd want to be really scaling in a position into this zone and keeping our position size appropriate so that we can add and not take too much heat. Because like if you were to buy here, you'd have to put a stop really down here, and that's a very large stop. So that's like a 20-point stop. So if you do that, it'd be more like a swing. You can do that on micros depending on your account size. I would just exercise a little bit of caution um, down there, just because of the size of that demand area and the fact that we have kind of two potential levels of interest that we want to be aware of. So right now, we've got this current level we're in that is sort of marked off because we're bouncing off it right now at about 41.73. Next area to the downside, I'd look for some form of reaction or support would be around 41.56, but that might start even higher, 41.66. There's actually quite a bit of support in this area. And then if we do break through that, then I say kind of look out below to retest some of these lower areas, because the volume in here is extremely thin. And that just makes me like I'm sort of expecting us to come down through this. And that's why I'm considering putting on a hedge up here. I think at this point, your risk of holding long positions is greater than your risk of short positions on the indexes. So, I'm going to keep my longer term positions for the big picture, but my shorter term stuff, my double. So, like I use the regular like SPY, DIA, QQQ for longer term positions, and then I'll take shorter term, more aggressive swings with the leveraged ETFs. I'll keep my longer term stuff on. My leverage stuff, like I said, I've got some tight stops up here, and then I might throw on some downside hedges and then try to rebuy long somewhere down here. That would be my plan of attack, because this to me looks just like super duper thin. And what I mean by that is, again, I'll put this back on. So if we look at the impulse up, we can see that there's very little trading took place here. And often when that happens, price needs to kind of mitigate that. There's very inefficient order filling happening here when price gets pushed up that fast. And sometimes there are still buyers waiting down below who weren't able to get in. And so the auction process tends to come down when you have buyers waiting down here, and the buying starts to dry up here. The auction will start to bring the price down into those levels to get any sort of residual demand, any residual buying pressure. Those people can buy in. And, we might just continue from there, some of this sideways chop that we've really been in for, honestly, we've been sideways since the middle of April at this point. So if you're not playing this as a sideways market, then you're probably not making money, or you're losing money. These markets, I think, are very difficult for swing trading if you are not experienced with market analysis. But if you know what you're doing, these are, I think, very ripe grounds for swing trading, as long as you manage your risk well and you manage your position sizing well. I think that's super important. So yeah, you can see these levels in here are pretty good. So that's kind of from like the sort of intermediate picture. That's sort of what we're looking at. Let's zoom in further so we get into this morning. Right about here is where we had the jobs data released. And so you can see, price was falling in the pre-market and falling on ascending volume, which is not always a great sign that we want to see. But so it's falling on ascending volume, and but this is kind of decreasing volume on the way up. So I think we may still be good for some continuation to the downside here. I I'd be looking for reversals. And as far as where to look for reversals, that's a little bit tough because this is a really massive rotation area. And I think when that happens, sometimes, see, we'll just grab it like before the breakdown. It can be difficult to identify the really key levels. I would look at something down here, maybe even this sort of node here. So 4186 or so, 4185, 4186, or some possible resistance, maybe 4193. Those could be interesting levels for us. And so just kind of be aware of those levels to look for a reversal. But I would look for price action on a smaller time frame because I don't know for sure where there's a lot of different support levels in here. We could even come all the way back up to this or come all the way back up to this. If you look at this impulse down, for instance, we could do a couple things for the sake of cleaning up and not having too many different things on the chart. Don't want that. Here, let's get rid of this stuff. Let's see. What if we just look at the rotation that preceded the drop? Okay, so there's quite a bit of volume up there. I don't necessarily know that we're going to retest way up there. Let's take a look at this whole thing now and see what we start to get. And this is really sloppy distribution. So again, this to me just sort of points to the fact that we probably would just really want to look for price action confirmation on a smaller time frame. I don't see anything that really stands out here. You're going to have demand in here, but it's not, if you, again, looking at the way that the trading was actually distributed, there's nothing too profound about that spot. But again, it does line up. If we look at the value area of this impulse down, what's interesting actually, now that I'm looking at this closer, is the value area high lines up perfectly with that low. So if we do kind of blast up, I think we could possibly reverse here, possibly reverse here, possibly reverse here. So it's, as long as we're sort of below all those levels, in sort of ascending order, 4186.25, 4192.75, and 4197.50. You can put those levels right on your charts. And as long as we're sort of moving up, again, we just want to look for price action confirmation of any reversals happening in those zones. Okay? Nothing too crazy complicated. And we've got about 40 minutes left before the open. Let's just take a look at what we're doing right now. Yeah, you can see lots of, as we get a kind of more granular look at this, we can see there's lots of little demand areas, right? So you can see it here. You can see a little bit of it here. A little one here. So I think there's going to be little bits of resistance sort of on the way up in some of these areas where we have identified. Again, notice we had some of these areas from before over here, but look how they're lining up. Like this one, you get your sort of high volume node right there. This one's kind of like right on that high volume node. So we're actually getting, again, a little bit of confluence in here from some of those longer term levels as well, that we might see some support in these areas. So these lines are just areas that I'm going to be looking on a smaller time frame for reversals to take continuation to the downside, because right now I think my bias is downside bias at the moment. And I'm probably going to just go ahead and open up a bearish hedge right at the open today. Relatively probably small position. I can always add to it if we keep moving up. But I want to start adding some downside exposure up here, because I think things are looking like they may want to come down if we just look at that broader market picture. And there's still just such mixed economic news, and the economy is so weird with recovery. We just kind of want to be nimble, want to be nimble. We'll still hold some longs. We'll just hedge that position out. So I think that gives you plenty to look at for today. I will be day trading today. Again, we have our trading room on Discord. It's a nice little group. It's small. And then we have a free one you can join. And then we do have a paid version if you want to get alerts for when I execute swing and long term trades. I'll send out alerts about that. I don't do sent out alerts for day trading just because it's a little bit too fast and aggressive. So you kind of have to be on live with me when I'm sharing my screen. Um, and then we also have indicators that we've made that are available. You can read about those on the website as well. So it's dpmtrades.com if you want to join us. If you're just learning, you're kind of interested in getting involved with futures trading, but maybe you're a little bit unsure. I think there's a lot out there, some good, some not so good, but a lot of trading rooms are expensive. Um, I say this pretty much every video. I don't run my trading room for income. I do it for fun. Uh, Trading can be, it can, once you've been trading for a while, it can be kind of boring and lonely because you're sort of by yourself. Um, and so it's nice to have a little community. And I like to teach. My other career was as an educator, and I did a lot with behavior and psychology. And so I enjoy teaching others. I enjoy helping others, and that's why I run the group. So dpmtrades.com, join us. You can put up charts, tickers you want to have marked up and whatnot. And yeah, so that's that. So probably won't take any trades pre-market. I don't like trading as we get close to between that 9 o'clock and 9:30 hour New York time. It's just too close to the opening bell, and things can get a little funky in there. Um, yeah, hope you guys have a great trading day. So far, I've had all green days this week, so I'm pretty pleased. Not great green days, um, but green days nonetheless. So can't complain. And yeah, have fun, guys.